You're standing at the edge of a garden where the air carries the faint, earthy hum of life stirring beneath the soil. The ground beneath your feet is soft, a tender give of moss and dew-kissed earth, cushioning each step as though it's been waiting for you. A gentle breeze brushes your skin, warm yet tinged with the coolness of early dusk, weaving through the branches overhead. The leaves rustle faintly, a whispering chorus that shifts with the light, golden rays spilling through the canopy, then softening as clouds drift lazily across the sky. Somewhere distant, a stream murmurs, its voice a low, steady pulse that blends with the occasional chirp of a bird settling into its nest. The scent of blooming lavender rides the wind, subtle but insistent, curling around you like an old friend's touch. You feel the texture of it all, the roughness of bark against a nearby tree, the silk of petals brushing your fingertips as you pass a low bush, the slight dampness of the air settling on your brow. The garden stretches wide, rows of green and amber unfolding into shadows that deepen with each breath you take. And yet, there's something more here, a presence, a whisper caught in the rustling leaves, hovering just beyond the edge of memory. It's familiar, like the echo of a laugh you once knew, stirring the stillness with a quiet promise. Each sway of the branches seems to beckon it closer, though it lingers, unseen, teasing the corners of your mind with a warmth you can't yet place. The light shifts again, painting the earth in hues of copper and violet, and the sound of a twig snapping underfoot pulls you deeper into this moment. The garden breathes with you, alive in its stillness, holding secrets in the way the shadows play against the soil. That whisper, it's there again, softer now, woven into the sigh of the wind as it lifts a strand of hair from your neck. It's waiting, patient and steady, a thread of something lost yet near, tugging gently at your heart as the world around you hums in quiet reverence. There's a weight you carry, isn't there? A storm of decisions that churns beneath your chest, each choice a gust, pulling you in a dozen directions. You remember the days when your mind felt lighter, when picking a path didn't feel like navigating a gale. Maybe it's the mornings now, standing at the kitchen counter, the coffee cooling in your hands as you weigh what to say, what to do, what to let go. The steam rises, curling into nothing, and you feel that fatting too, the clarity you once held, slipping like sand through your fingers. It's in the quiet moments too, the drive home, where the hum of the engine can't drown out the questions. Did you push too hard today? Or not enough? The weight settles deeper when you sit alone, the room still, but your thoughts a restless tide. You see it in the mirror sometimes, don't you? the lines etched a little sharper, the eyes that linger on a man who wonders if he's lost the ease he used to know. There's a longing there, a nostalgia for when the world didn't demand so much, when a choice didn't feel like a stone stacked on an already unsteady pile. And yet, through the fatigue, there's that whisper again, soft, insistent, brushing against the edges of your awareness. It's like a voice you've heard before, calling from the far side of this storm, threading through the doubt like a breeze through tall grass. You feel it when you pause, when the noise of the day fades just enough to let it in a hint of something steady, something you once leaned on, growing closer with each breath. It's there in the ache of what's been lost, in the quiet regret of a strength you fear might never return. The storm spins on, doesn't it? Decisions piling like clouds, heavy with what ifs and should haves. You've carried them well, even when your shoulders sag under the load. But that whisper, it lingers, a thread of calm woven into the chaos, promising something beyond the horizon of your tired mind. It's nearer now, a murmur that feels like home, stirring the stillness as though it's been waiting for you to hear it all along. And then he's here, the gardener from a quiet memory, stepping into the garden like he's never left. His voice is warm, low, a soft rumble against the faint rustle of leaves brushing the ground. "You've come back," he says, and the words settle over you like the gentle weight of a familiar coat. He's as you remember, hands roughened by soil, eyes crinkled with a knowing calm, the scent of fresh earth clinging to him as he moves through the rows. The air hums with the sound of a wooden rake, dragging lightly across dirt, steady and slow, a rhythm you didn't know you'd missed. He kneels by a patch of marigolds, their golden heads nodding in the breeze, and you're pulled into a moment from years ago. You see it, the two of you sitting on a weathered bench, the sun warm on your neck, the distant clink of a wind chime swaying in the afternoon. "Look at them grow," he'd said, his finger tracing the edge of a petal, and you'd laughed, the sound bright against the stillness. The memory wraps around you, rich with the feel of splintered wood under your palms, the coolness of shaded earth against your boots, the faint tang of crushed herbs in the air. Another scene blooms. He's handing you a clay pot, the weight solid in your hands, the damp soil cool against your skin. "Plant something," he'd urged, his voice a quiet nudge. And you had, pressing seeds into the dark with a certainty you rarely felt elsewhere. The crunch of gravel underfoot echoes now, mingling with the soft drip of water from a tin can as he waters a row of thyme. That whisper, it's him, unraveling into a memory of the day you stood together under a sky streaked with pink, his hand on your shoulder as he said, you've got steady roots, even when you don't see it. The garden pulses with these echoes, the creak of a gate swinging shut, the brush of a leaf against your arm, the distant call of a bird fading into dusk. He turns to you now, his gaze soft, and that suspense melts into clarity. It's that moment, the one where you felt unshaken, where the storm of choices didn't touch you, where his quiet faith in you was enough. The gardener smiles, faint but sure, and the garden sighs with him, alive with the past you'd almost let slip away. There's no shame in the storm, he says, his voice a gentle anchor as he brushes soil from his hands, the faint grit of it dusting the air. You've been standing in it a long time, haven't you? Letting it howl around you, holding your ground even when it pulls hard. The breeze lifts again, warm against your face, carrying the scent of fresh earth, a grounding drift that steadies your restless mind. He steps closer, and you feel his presence like a shield, soft but unyielding, wrapping you in a quiet that drowns the chaos. You don't need to fight it alone, he continues, his tone rising with a tender lift. Those decisions, the ones that weigh you down, they're not chains. They're branches, bending, growing, even when you can't see the shape yet. You've got strength in you, deeper than you know. The rustle of leaves brushes the silence, a soothing echo of the garden's pulse, and you feel the truth of it settling in light, warm, like sunlight spilling over your shoulders. That moment by the gate, when he'd looked at you and seen roots where you saw only doubt, it blooms now, vivid and whole, a revelation that the storm hasn't broken you, only shaped you. He kneels again, tracing a line in the soil, and his voice deepens, rich with years of watching things grow. Time doesn't erase what you've built, it turns it. The man who planted those seeds with me, he's still here, even if the days blur. Resilience isn't loud, it's the quiet of roots sinking deep, holding fast when the wind comes. And you've held through every choice, every gust. The air cools slightly, a faint mist kissing your skin, and you see it, the way each decision, even the heavy ones, has carved a path, not a prison. Growth isn't always forward, he says, his eyes catching the last light. Sometimes it's letting go, letting the storm pass, trusting the ground beneath you. You're not less for it, you're more. The distant murmur of the stream rises, threading through his words, and the garden feels vast, alive, a mirror to the peace unfurling in you. The scent of earth lingers, steady and sure, tying you back to that first step into this place, a promise that the storm calms, that your mind can rest. He nods, faint but certain, and you feel it. The weight lifting, the spirit rising, rooted in a wisdom that's been waiting for you all along. The garden softens now, folding into the hush of evening as the gardener's shadow stretches long across the soil. "It's time to rest," he says, his voice a warm breath fading into the rustle of leaves settling for the night. The air grows cooler, a gentle press against your skin, laced with the fatting sweetness of lavender and the deep, rich scent of turned earth. The sky above is a tapestry of indigo and gold, stars pricking through one by one, their light a quiet glow mirrored in the dew pooling on the petals around you. He steps back, his boots whispering against the moss, and the sound blends with the distant trickle of the stream, a lullaby woven into the stillness. The garden cradles you now, its textures softening, the roughness of bark smoothing into memory, the silk of leaves brushing the ground like a sigh. "You've carried enough today," he murmurs, and his presence begins to drift, gentle as a breeze lifting away, leaving only the echo of his warmth in the space he filled. The suspense of his voice, that whisper from the edges, resolves into this, a quiet certainty, a peace you can hold. The journey lingers in the air, the storm you faced, the memories that found you, the wisdom that took root. It's all here in the faint creak of a branch overhead, the cool dampness of soil beneath your feet, the slow fade of daylight into dusk. You feel the expanse of it, a calm that stretches wide, wrapping you in its tender embrace. "Tell me of a moment that lingers in your heart," his voice calls faintly, a final thread carried on the wind, inviting you to share as the garden hums its quiet song. The last light catches a leaf drifting to the ground, spinning slow and sure, and the gardener's shadow is gone, melted into the earth he tended. The breeze brushes your neck once more, soft and fleeting, a goodbye that feels like a promise. You're left here in this peaceful garden, the scent of fresh earth drifting past, grounding your restless mind as the world fades to a whisper, a tender, lingering hush that bids you rest.